welcome to GATEtv. My name is Charlotte Richardson and you join me for the first in our new series called Unlocking the Gate. This is an opportunity for us to sit down with some of the key members of the football club to learn a little bit about them, and who better to start with than former player, club legend and our gaffer, Jay Saunders. Jay, firstly, how are you and how's lockdown 2.0 treating you?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Charlotte. Keeping well. Obviously, it's testing times for everyone again, but I'm sort of one of those fortunate ones that my work hasn't stopped to a degree. So, yeah, no, all keeping well, just trying to stay healthy, and I hope everyone else is too.
And we've spoken in the past about the challenges of COVID, how it impacted upon your pre-season, player recruitment. Finally, the season was getting into a bit of a flow, and then came the news of a suspension of all football. How has that news kind of impacted on you and your colleagues within the Isthmian League as well?
Yeah, it's been difficult. Obviously, we had a stop-start sort of end of the season, and then we sort of got pre-season going, and everything sort of seemed to be running quite smoothly. So you start building the squad, and obviously we were looking at making changes and different things, and you finally think, okay, things are starting heading in the right direction, and then stop play. So it's been a frustrating time. And speaking to a lot of other managers and other people in the game, I think they're all feeling the same. It's very frustrating. And everyone, all the players I know, when I speak to them, feel exactly the same. But at the end of the day, it's people's health, and I think that's what we've got to look at. That is the bigger picture. As much as we all want football back, and I'm certainly one of those, and I know how important it is, not just for people that actually play and manage and stuff like that and work in the game, but for supporters, for their well-being, for getting out and socialising and just having that. It's a big miss in everyone's life. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure it's a safe environment. We had that obviously with our last game. One of our members of staff had a scare, so the game got called off, and that was a shame. It would have been nice to have gone out in a home game at least, but it wasn't to be. And like I say, we had to make sure everyone was safe, and that's what we've got to look at in the whole scheme of things.
Yeah, definitely. That's really important. And how have the boys been connected? Have you obviously got your WhatsApp groups and stuff like that? Are you kind of in touch with the squad quite regularly, encouraging them to keep fit? Because again, we don't really know when we're going to be starting again.
Yeah, they're an honest group. They're a young group, and I think when you find with young lads, is they're also keen on their fitness anyway. And we came back from the last lockdown in good shape. Been speaking to them individually. They've obviously got their WhatsApp groups that they keep in touch with. I'd rather not be in. Imagine the rubbish that Noel Layton and other people put in there, so I try and steer clear.
Very wise.
They're a good group, and they're all looking forward to coming back. We've started planning. I think we have to. That obviously 2nd December we're meant to come out of lockdown. Whether that happens or not, we don't know. But we have to plan towards that. That maybe we'll be able to train on the Thursday night. So that's what we're planning towards. We've arranged a couple of friendlies that. If obviously I'd like to think the league are going to put something in place where we'll get a week or two to prepare before we go straight into games. But as of yet, we've had no contact from the league, which is disappointing. But yeah, we're just planning towards some dates, and hopefully we can go back into it and get up and running as quick as possible.
That was going to be my next question to you, actually. What would be your preference for a sort of return into football? Because I'm seeing some leagues, not necessarily just in Kent, but kind of Essex and down in the south, are sort of suggesting that there'll be games that weekend. With the player welfare being such an important thing, that would perhaps, I would suggest, be far too soon and too risky. What would you like to see happen?
It's a difficult one. I don't want to be too harsh on the leagues, because at the end of the day, we're complaining we're not playing. So if they go, right, we're going to play, and then start complaining about that, I don't think you can be like that. So for me, I would sort of like a week and a half, 2 weeks, I think, just to get back in. And for us, obviously, we only have one training session a week, so it'd be nice to get a couple of training sessions in at least. And like I say, just a little friendly, so that we can get some minutes into legs and get them the boys used to game situations again. But yeah, in an ideal world, that'll be it. But obviously, it's not going to be up to us. It'll be up to the leagues, and as and when they see fit, we'll have to go with it.
And if we take it back to that last game, it feels like a lifetime ago. The weeks passed so slowly in lockdown, but we had the really good victory in the FA Trophy, and I know that you managed to capture the signing of Norman Wabo, who you had sought after a long time. He made a good impact. It was a bit of a shame, really, it felt, as well, because I know that you'd, in terms of recruitment, managed to secure the services of a couple of key people. But how was that game, and talk about Norman's impact straight away, and that, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice to get a win. Obviously, that's the idea in, especially cup competitions. You want to get through. I think for us, it was a case of sort of breaking that losing run, which we wanted to do, whether it be cup or league. Overall, I thought we started slowly. We built our way into the game and sort of come back into it. Got to 1-0 and we looked completely in control. And then we come out second half and again we took the lead. And I thought from that point on we go and win the game quite comfortably. But fair play to Aylesbury. They were a side that are doing really well in their league. I watched them leading up to that game on a Wednesday night, and they're a side that are riding high. And I suppose for us, we're a side that hadn't been used to winning games, so it was a difficult situation for us. But the boys showed great character when we got back level, when they got back level, and then we went on and won the game. And I think the key thing with me was Norman Wabbo's impact. We've been lacking up front. I've made that quite clear, and we sort of waited to get sort of the right player, and Norman was that. And I feel that he'll have a big impact when we get going again. He's a goal scorer, someone that whenever he played against me for Southend, always done really well and always impressed me. So really pleased to get him in. And immediately you could see the boys took to him. I think as a player, if you come in, it's fine fitting in with teams and that, but if you come in and score 2 goals straight away, then it gets that belief among the squad, and the players believe. And his second goal, 2 different goals. The first one was a poacher's from a corner at the back post, and the second goal was he sort of turned the centre half on the halfway line, ran through and coolly slotted it. So really pleased with him, and it's just a shame it stopped there. I was looking forward to the Tuesday night against East Thurrock. It would have obviously been a big game, and another game that I'm sure he would have won impressed in it at home.
Yeah, that home debut is obviously still to come, and it gives us yet another reason to want to get back to Hartsdown Park as soon as possible. If we take it back now and just talk about you for a bit, how did your love of football start? Where did that influence come from?
It's a bit of a strange one. I was never really interested. And then my brother was going to a soccer school, Andy Ford's soccer clinic. He used to run in Bearsted, where I lived. And my brother was going, and I sort of tagged along with my brother and his mates. And I don't think I kicked a ball. And I came away, we did a 3-day soccer school and I won player of the week. And it kind of went from there. And then Andy kind of went, do you want to come and play for my Sunday team? Which was, I think they were a couple of years older. And I went, yeah, okay. And I went and played, and that was it. It just kind of went from there, really. And then, so that was how I got into it. It was popped up, really. I don't think, my brother hadn't been going to soccer school. I'm not so sure I would have got in at that age. I think I was about 10, 11. So I wasn't young. No one in my family had ever been involved in football or played football, really. I was all into boxing and other stuff like that, my dad and stuff. And my dad started taking me along, and it went from there. So I fell into it rather than sort of discovered it, I suppose.
Yeah, and and then you spent time at Chillingham, didn't you? How long were you a part of Chillingham in your youth development?
Yeah, I got picked up a couple of years after I started, when I was about 12. Started going along, got asked to go along there and a couple of other clubs, but I think location-wise for me, it worked. So I went to Gillingham and was there from 12 until 2 years after I left school. Did a 2-year YTS, a bit different to what sort of the scholarships and that they run now, but did a 2-year there, and then didn't quite make the grade after that. Couldn't break through. Tony Pulis was manager, but had some really good years there and great experiences that I sort of have learned and built on it, I suppose, over my career.
Do you think, obviously given your insight as a coach as well and the stuff you do outside of Margate, that academy structure now has come on so much, hasn't it? Like every club now, they really invest in their academy. And I know it's something you've spoken about, like youth development as a coach is something you're quite passionate and interested in. Yeah,
it's youth football in general has come on so much since I was a kid. I mean, if you look at the kids now, they're out playing at 4 and 5. As soon as they can walk, they're almost kicking balls. And the coaching they get now is fantastic. The opportunities they get is amazing. And I believe one thing that has come out, I think, of this whole COVID situation is the financial side has been affected. But what it has meant is that teams have had to look at the younger players. We've had to do it with the likes of Archie Burnett, George Wilkinson, George Lamb, people like that who've been in around the first team, Charlie Hatton, that probably wouldn't have a year ago. So it's given these youth lads an opportunity, and it's good. I've always been one that's happy to put people in. I think Jack Richards got his debut for me when he was 16 at Maidstone in the National League. So I've always believed that if you can push these lads through, then that's the right way to do it. I know a lot of clubs are looking that way and doing it now, and it's great if you're a young player coming through, and it's something that I think in the game over the years has been a major positive.
Yeah, definitely. And for you personally, obviously you'd been at Chillingham, and then you left Chillingham to go to, well, what we now know as Ebbsfleet, but Gravesend and Northfleet. Was that right?
Yeah, that was. Linked back up with Andy Ford, who, as I say, I went to his soccer clinics. So yeah, I left Gills, didn't quite make the grade, and I had a few injuries. Went to Ebbsfleet, or Gravesend, as you say, and started well. Steve Lovell was first team manager. Andy got me there. He was reserve team manager. I went straight in the first team and was doing well, and then I had injuries. And then I just couldn't get myself back fit. I had 2 operations, and it meant I missed nearly a year of football. And then that was when Chris Kinnear got in touch at Margate, and then it sort of went from there, really.
There's 2 things there, isn't it, in terms of, I think it is something that's quite unique to Kent football. The names you've mentioned already, Steve Lovell, Chris Kinnear, like it is quite a small, it's a big field, but a small circle, and those connections are really important. But also the fact that as a young man, you encountered some serious injuries, and I suppose probably had to show a great deal of strength to come back. And I didn't realise you were so young when you joined Margate. It's about 19. And then, you know, I suppose that chapter of your career opened up, and reading up on, you know, obviously I know you as a manager, but reading up on you as a player, like the words used to describe you, became a fan's favourite really quickly. Do you look back on that time in your playing career fondly at Margate?
Yeah, I do. We had a good few promotions. I just remember joining Margate. Lee Spiller, who I work with now at the Soccer Elite, he's a good friend of mine, and he kind of said about sort of coming down there, and Chris Kinnear got in touch, and I went down. I actually went down as a right back, which I don't think I'd ever played in my life. But Chris was like, "We'll give you a go right back," and although I played there, we played wing backs back then, and I found it difficult. It wasn't really for me, but I just went down there, and straight away the lads we had there, Mark Monday, the Ian O'Connells, Tony Dixon's, people like that. They were Elliot Martins, who I knew from Gillingham, and there was a lot of lads, and I just straight away was made to feel welcome. Paul Sykes, who sadly passed away, we just had great lads there, and I felt part of it straight away and really enjoyed it. And then it kind of went from there, really, and that was I sort of managed to get into midfield and at the end of my first season there, and then stayed there, and I think 300 and odd appearances, 350, something like that. And I think what I'd say about supporters down at Margate, and they're still the same, if they see you giving 100%, they're behind you. And I guess I was a player throughout my career. Was I the most talented player in the world? I don't know. I wasn't bad, but what I was someone that gave 100%, and I think the supporters at most clubs I played at saw that, and that was why I suppose I was liked.
I think for any footballer at any level to amass over 350 appearances is a massive achievement, and it's why, you know, now being the manager as well, you just talk to any Margate fan and they're so supportive and they want to see you do so well, and the news about you coming back was received so well. If you had to whittle down your highlights from your playing time, can you give me top 3 memories that you have? And it doesn't even need to be necessarily success, it could be just maybe a bit of a story of maybe an away game that you travelled to, 3 standout memories. And I should say I've sprung this one on you as well, so take the time you need, because I'm sure supporters would love to hear kind of spring to mind.
Well, it's difficult. I think one of them was, it always sticks with me, was when we went to Boston and won the league, and it was between Boston were the favourites that year to go up to the National League, and we sort of surprised everyone and stayed up there. On the last game of the season, we had Boston away and we'd already won the league. And we went there, and at the end of the game, Brian Clough comes stumbling in. And there was me, Leon Braithwaite, and we was all having a drink and celebrating. And he come walking in, he didn't realise he'd got the wrong changing room. But oh, sorry, fellas, wrong changing room, but congratulations. And that sticks with me, just because obviously he was a legend. But also that time going to Boston, Burton Albion, sorry, not Boston. It was just a big it was a big achievement, and sort of seeing him walk in the change room. So that was one that sticks with me. It's difficult, really. I can't remember who we played. It's terrible, really. I should remember when again we won the league away from home, and it was the Doc Martens back then. Doc Martens, I don't know if it's the Southern or the Premier League. You'd have to put me right on it. It was such a long time ago. But I remember we won the league, but Tom Plank had broke his leg. He'd had a really good season for us. And we kind of all celebrated. I think I scored 2 goals that game. I'm trying to think it was against, I can't, Bulldog Town or something like that. But I think I scored 2 and had a good game. And then it's kind of put a tarnish on it with Tom breaking his leg. But I just remember that it wouldn't happen now. But we all got on the coach and carried on drinking, and Tom was left in hospital. And I shouldn't laugh; it's terrible now. But I get on really well with Tom and still speak to him. But yeah, it's something that they just showed you back then. That was what you did. You just got on with it. And then probably my last one, and probably on a because I've still got a scar from it now, was when we played Southport away in the National League, and I went up for a header with. I went to head the ball back to the keeper, and Sam Sodje came the other way with a centre forward as well, and the 3 of us just clashed, and Sam Sodje full on headbutted me. And anyone that knows Sodje, he had the biggest, the biggest head. I think I had the biggest head, but he had the hardest head. He had the hardest head in football, and I just remember waking up and I just couldn't see a thing, and then my whole, this part of the head was completely over my eye. There was blood coming out. I was being sick. And again, it wouldn't happen now, but I just remember sitting with Colin Page on the train because they were saying we've got to go to hospital. And I said, "There's no way I'm going to hospital in Liverpool. I'm getting home." And yeah, so I sat with Colin Page on the train. He kept slapping me every time I was sort of dozing off. But yeah, that put me out for a while. So it's a silly reason, but it's just something that sticks with me. I say I've still got the dent in my head now, and there's many other occasions winning the league at home. The Doc Martens Southern League, I think that was the one we won at home. So there's loads of different ones. The Leyton Orient game when we beat them in the FA Cup. So there's loads of games and games you can go through. But I think just as reasons, them sort of things always stick in your mind.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, you enjoyed 3 spells at Margate, and you captained the side as well. What was it like to be the captain? Did you feel a sort of extra responsibility? I'm sure it's probably something, your leadership skills that you've got, you kind of relished.
Yeah, it's always nice when a manager asks you to be it. I was sort of, I think most clubs I was at, I got that opportunity, and that was always nice. But I'm always one of those, and I think players need to be a bit more. If I was speaking to young players nowadays growing up, I think that the captain's obviously important. But I was always one of those. If I weren't the captain, I'd still try and be as vocal as I could and try and lead by example. And I think that's something that certainly I'll try and instill with the young lads we've got today. Yeah, Ben Swift's our captain, but I look around and you've got your Reece Prestiges, Liam Friends, they're your senior players. I expect them to lead by example and sort of try and pull people through. And you try and say to the young lads coming through that just because they're the captain, we can't. You look at them for that bit of inspiration. Or you used to back in the day, but I think nowadays you've got to take responsibility as well. And for me personally, it was always nice. As I say, I played for some good managers: Chris Kinnear, Andy Ford, Liam Daish, people like that. And I was fortunate that they felt I could do the job as captain. So it was always a nice feeling. But as I say, my biggest thing was winning games of football, and that kind of was just something, a side thing.
And talking of leadership and responsibility, obviously now is probably universally, if you speak to any non-league club or even higher up in the league, it's a really difficult time. And for you, do you feel a sense of responsibility to sort of obviously help the club as much as possible? I mean, I know from experience working with you, you're really supportive every time we need to do stuff with sponsors and opportunities like this to grow what we're trying to do on YouTube as well. I feel like with you as managers, kind of safe hands from the playing side to try and make sure we get through this tricky time as best as we can, because it's a funny old game, and in non-league football now, it's awash with money seemingly, but actually sometimes being sustainable and trying to do things the right way is quite important, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what? There's no doubt about it. This past year or so has been the toughest time I've known in football, especially managing. It's been really, obviously I think most clubs have been through the budget cuts and everything. I think what you realise is that Margates, your Dovers, people like that, Ramsgates, to get players to travel, you have to obviously finance a little bit more and pay a little bit more to maybe get them to travel. And obviously that's affected clubs like ourselves. And I found it difficult. We've had problems with training facilities, with everything that happened. So it's been a really, really tough year. So you try and, I mean, I speak to the club most days, and Ricky at the club, and we speak and we try, and everything we do is not, we're trying to get best value we can whilst getting the best players we can. And I think any way we can help, and I know the supporters are the same. They've been brilliant with the 12-man scheme, and some of the people that have put some money into that has been fantastic. And I just think, obviously, what you guys have done with the online stuff and streaming the games has been amazing, and I know people appreciate that. And I just think that as a club, everyone's pulled together and they're trying the best they can. Will clubs and stuff, will we always get it right? We won't. But I'm desperate to, on the football side of things, to get the best side out we can, to sort of make sure that we climb the table when we're back and have as good a finish as we can. And then maybe when things get better, we can assess it again. But as a whole, I think the club, what they're trying to do has been great. And it's just like you say, it's a tough time for everyone.
Yeah, and I don't think it matters how much experience you have. Like I say, we're seeing clubs really struggling and looking for government support or looking for support higher up. And it's about kind of being resilient and, like I say, sustainable. And it will, I'm sure, hold every manager that experience in the future. But I want to kind of talk a little bit more about your transition from a player to a manager. Was it something that you thought about quite early on, that you wanted to go into coaching, you wanted to become a manager, or was it a bit like the very start of your career, like, oh, you just fell into it?
I did fall into it. Yes. Yeah, I think if you spoke to a lot of players I played with, I don't know whether they'd say they thought I'd be a manager. But I was at Maidstone playing, and I remember we had Ashford Middlesex away, and I was warming up, and I was stretched on the side of the pitch, and Bill Williams, who was the director there, just came over and said, we were just chatting, he said, I can see you being a manager one day. And I sort of laughed it off. And then it went from there, really. I think it's probably down to Bill Williams that I'm in it. He came in for me when I was back at Margate. He came in from playing under Ian O'Connell and John Keister. He came in to me, they came in for me and asked me to be manager there, I think, before Andy Full got the job. It didn't happen. And then a few things happened at Margate and I had to leave. And unfortunately, I had to leave. And then I'm trying to think how it happened. Andy Full came in for me as a player. Went back to Maidstone. He left after about 5 or 6 games. And they just asked me to take the team to the end of the season. We had a good little run. And it went from there. So it was something that always intrigued me. And I used to work for my dad's companies and sort of up in London. And from a young age, I'd sort of be on jobs and put in charge of a lot sort of older men or just be on sites and helping run things. So I think the managing side of people, that came into it at a young age. And then just sort of married that with the football, and it's gone from there, really. And I've had a good spell, and it's sort of something now that I can't think of doing anything else. So I'm glad that sort of Bill saw something in me and gave me that opportunity. And yeah, it's sort of just gone on and on.
And do you think there are any traits from your playing days that you can identify that have stuck with you in your managerial? Because it must be hard, especially because, you know, you've had the career that you've had from a playing point of view. I'm sure there have been occasions on the sidelines where you just wish you could put on your boots and have an impact in that way. But yeah, if you had to name some characteristics that you feel like you've taken with you into management, what would they be?
I think, first of all, the game's changed a hell of a lot from when I played. The stuff we could get away with back there, I think I'd get sent off every other week now. The game has changed, and I think that's a good thing. Obviously, the standard of football, I would say the standard of football, but there's a lot more football played and different things. And I think one thing that helps me is I'm quite laid back. And so I think from a player's point of view, they know when I'm not happy. I think I play for managers that would rant and rave every 5 seconds, be on the sideline. I used to just look at them thinking, I'm not even listening to what they're saying, because it was the same old thing. And I think if you're like that all the time, players switch off. So I think players know, and the ones that play for me know that when I'm not happy and when things are not right, I could stand on the sideline and rant and rave. I'm not one for that. There's a time and a place. If it's needed, then I'll do it. So I think that side of things, I was always quite laid back as a player, and it's not. I think supporters that remember me playing will tell me I'm still passionate, but I just I could have a calmness about me, and I've tried to take that into football management, and being a good. I don't know really. I don't know what else. It's a really tricky question, because probably as a player, I sort of ran ahead and kicked everything and to do as much as I can, and I do that as a manager. But it's you have to be able to switch off at some point. Otherwise, I think you drive yourself mad. So I try now when I'm away from football. That's probably one thing I was guilty of when I first started management. I was sort of, I couldn't switch off, and I think now got to a stage where I know when I can't. It isn't very often, because you can't in football management, but every now and then I try. And so when I've got my kids on a Sunday, I try and make sure they get my whole attention. The phone goes off, and that's might be a time to switch off.
I think that's a really important point, actually, because I feel like anyone involved with a football club, even behind the scenes, people like myself and the staff that when you care and you know the hard work that goes in, sometimes it is hard to switch off. And I try and do the same, like on the drive home from Margate. I'm like, right, that's happened, or when it's good or bad kind of thing. Yeah. I think that's a really key thing to take forward.
It's difficult. I think supporters need to realise as well, probably, when we lose, what I have realised over the years from being a player to a manager is it hurts you more as a manager. I think as a player, you switch off, you finish the game, you have a couple of pints, and you go, okay, where's the next game? As a manager, you don't, you kind of eats away, it ruins your weekend, and it's a horrible situation. I've been through good times and bad times with management. Obviously, had some good years and promotions and winning things, and obviously times like this, it's difficult, where we were having a sort of not a great start to the season. So you have to have that line where you kind of, and I try and use that now, family time. When I'm with Steph and the kids, it kind of is a case where that's my time to try and switch off.
Yeah, it's really, really important. And you are a young manager, and you've got an impressive amount of hands-on experience. What do you think is the key thing? Maybe it is what you've just answered, but maybe another key element that you've learned as a manager, an experience that you've maybe gone through that you feel holds you in really good stead, potentially compared to some of your peers starting out in their managerial careers?
Do you know what? I've always been honest. I thought I was honest as a player, and I try and be honest as a manager. So if things aren't working with a player, I can tell them. I'm not one for calling people. I'd always rather deal with it face to face. And I've over the years, I've had some really difficult decisions to make. And I know a lot of managers will send a text or pick up the phone and go, oh, this and that, and I'm letting you go, or whatever. I've always tried to do that at face. I always remember, sort of go back to when I was at Maidstone, and Steve Watt was captain, and it was a big thing. I had to let Steve go because I felt at the time it was right for the team. And I think a lot of managers maybe would have just dropped a text or something, or just maybe picked up the phone, but I called him and sort of dealt with it face to face. And I think that's something I've tried to be honest with people. I think if you speak to most players, I try and get them to enjoy their football. You have to realise that our sort of level, you are part-time, and I think a lot of managers forget that. So I try and get them to enjoy the environment they're in, and that they want to come to. There's nothing worth it. I had times in my career as a player where you finish a day's graft, and then you're going to football, and you think, I don't really want to be going there. This is a bit of a drag. So I try and make it as enjoyable, and I try and make it that when players go elsewhere, they'll always speak highly or can't really have many bad words to say about you, and I think that's a massive thing and really important. I'm sure there'll always be players out there that won't take to you and it won't work out, and they'll always go away and say this and that about you. But I'd like to think the majority of players that have played for me enjoyed their time and will have good things to say.
Are there any managers or mentors that you turn to sometimes when you want a bit of support, or a bit of, someone that's maybe not linked to the club, just to get some advice from? Is there anyone that you would say has been a support in that way to you?
I think in most ways, I sort of go to my dad and sort of speak to him about most things, and he's always been there since I started playing. As I say, he wasn't a massive football fan, but he's always been there for me. He took me to games as a kid, and he still comes to all the games now, and always look out for him. So that side of things, like football wise, I've got close friends that I speak to that have been in and around football and get their opinion. Obviously, your assistants massive. Coyley coming in this year, Mike last year, Nicky Southwell was with at Maidstone. They become your sort of. Craig Holloway's been great with us as well. Dan Logie coming in, so people like that. But mentor, no, I wouldn't say so much. Just close friends and family really is the people I turn to. I'm a big believer as a manager. I've always made decisions, and I kind of, when I went into management, I said, right, I'm going to make decisions. Some are going to be wrong, but I won't be influenced. I think the minute you get influenced, then you're not doing what you believe in. So as soon as that happens, and I always said, if I'm going to get sacked or I'm going to walk out the door, I'll do things my way and make those decisions. If they cost me my job, then fair enough. At least I've made those decisions, and I still believe in that now. So I'll always go for advice and speak to people, because I think it's good too. And I'll ask Coyley's advice on the team selection, but I'll always go with what I feel is right. Otherwise, what's the point of being a manager?
Yeah, no, that was again my next question teed up there about you bringing Jamie and Craig, and that link with your staff really is so important, and building a team that you can trust and depend on as well. It's vital, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously I knew Craig. I played with him at Gravesend, and we always kept in touch. And he's someone, he's been in management as well. Coyley's been in management. He's someone that played for me. Came in as player coach at Maidstone and stayed with me for a good few years until he went and tried management. So they're lads that I've known for a long time and I trust. And for any reason, if I couldn't make it, or I've got to do something, if I'm going to watch a player and I sort of say, look, can you take training on Tuesday night, blah, blah, blah. They're people I trust in and know that they want the right things, and that's important. So, yeah, any managers going into it, I think it's so important, your backroom staff and having people you believe in and that believe in you.
Before some quick fire questions, let's reserve the last word for supporters, because I know they mean a lot to you because of your playing career and into management, and they're probably really missing the game right now. So is there any kind of message or anything you'd like to say to them? Hopefully they'll have enjoyed this interview anyway, in the absence of some football. Yeah,
just stay safe, most importantly. Football will resume. But it's really important that people look after themselves. We have missed the support. The supporters are one of the. I mean, Margate, what amazes me, and it's never changed, is from all the years I played there, is no matter how bad you're playing, they're there cheering you and clapping you at the end, and that makes a massive difference. It's something that I always mention to signings when I bring people in. I sort of say, if you give 100%, as I suppose I did as a player there, that they'll get behind you. So I think the quicker we can get back, great. And in a safe environment, and we can start giving them support, something to cheer about, and that they know that we're desperate as a management team, as a manager, and as a playing staff to sort of get a side that they'll be proud of and can get behind and start getting some results, because they 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, I suppose they're brilliant for us, and that's all I can ask for. So I'm sure the likes of Terry and many others I'm sort of missing. I never thought I'd say it. I'm missing her voice on a Saturday. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons. And as I say, I'm a very honest person. The players are very honest. And one thing I'd like to say is that when we come back and we can stay and have a drink afterwards in the bar, that they make sure they come in. It's something I always believed in wherever I've been as a player, as a manager, win, lose or draw, we go and have a drink in the bar and make sure we're there for them supporters to come, and if they want to ask me questions or ask the players questions, I'm sure they'll answer. And I think that unity between the players and the supporters is really important, and that's something that hopefully we can build on when we're back. Yeah, definitely. I think it's something that, again, at Margate, it's intrinsic in every Saturday, really, like you say, win, lose or draw. And you mentioned honesty there, so here's some quick fire questions for you. They start off easy. I think some of them might be a bit trickier, but hey, let's see what happens. Firstly, who was your favourite player growing up? Tony Adams. I probably had 3, but Tony Adams was my main one. David Rocastle, Patrick Vieira, Franco Baresi. Just for anyone that doesn't know, Jay is an Arsenal fan. From those. But yeah, I would probably say Tony Adams was my main one. Okay, who's the hardest opponent you ever faced as a player? Mike Marsh, he was at Boston. We went there, first game of the season, our first game in the conference, and we was all buzzing, had our names on the back of our shirts, and I was only young, I think it was about 21. And we went to Boston. I remember Chris Kinnear going, "Oh, they got a lad in midfield, just sort of try and get tight to him and do a job on him." And honestly, I couldn't get him. I think I touched the ball once all game. We won 1-0 last minute, Leon Braithwaite penalty. They were favourites to win the league. Steve Evans was manager. And we absolutely, smash and grab. And I don't think we had a shot all game, and won on a last minute penalty. But I think he was at Liverpool and he got sold for so many million, and he only played at that level because he took an insurance payout, so he wasn't allowed to play professionally. But he was on a different level. Everything one touch, round corners, and I just literally spent the day sort of chasing him about. But we won, so again, that's all I was concerned about, was winning. I come in afterwards and I think Chris said to me, "Well done, you had a good game." And I thought, I literally didn't touch the ball. But never mind, it was an experience to play against someone like that who played at the top level.
Yeah, and who's the best player you've played with during your spell specifically at Margate?
It's really difficult for me. I've always said John Keister was up there, especially when he first came to the club. I remember we played away from home and this lad come in. We'd never met him. He hadn't trained with us, and I kind of just went to him, "Look, be confident, blah, blah, blah," trying to give him some advice because he was playing in centre mid with me. And then he proceeded to literally run the game. And I was like, okay. I didn't even realise he played Football League. I knew nothing about him. And I was like, okay, this lad's on a different level. So he's right up there. But I think that would be doing an injustice to a lot of the lads we had, the years we had. I can look right through the side we had with the Paul Lambs, the Leon Braithwaite, Phil Collins, Mark Mondays, Bill Edwards. It goes on, Elliot Martins. There's some really good players that I was fortunate enough to play with there, and we just had a side that never gave up and that would run through brick walls for each other, and we were so close, and I think that was the main thing. So John Keister was probably technically right up there, but as I say, I would hate to forget about any of the others that were there as well.
Yeah. And when it comes to matchday prep, I think you, Jamie, and Craig tend to have a bit of a castle going on. Is there anything as a manager, any songs that you listen to on a match day as part of your routine that you need to hear to, make it a proper match day?
No, to be honest, this year's, if I'm travelling by myself, it's normally the same sort of stuff playing, either a little bit of house music or I'm doing R&B sort of soul man. So that's normally playing in my car if they're in mine. But Dan Logie's drove a couple of since he's come in as a fitness coach, and his music's horrendous, like UK grime stuff. I don't know what it is. So yeah, we've kind of stopped his music, but no, nothing in particular. I know the players. I think Ben Swift's in charge of music in the changing room, so he gets on with that. But no, nothing personally that I need to get me going. As a player, I used to always, but not so much as a manager. Okay,
next question. Would you rather a 5-0 drubbing of a team or a last-minute winner?
Oh, a 5-0 drubbing, because you're in complete control. But a last-minute winner, I don't think there's a better feeling. That is a great feeling. But yeah, no, 5-0 drubbing all day long, because I can relax a bit more.
And if you had to describe your managerial style in 3 words, what would they be?
Relaxed. Jesus, this is tough. Could have warned me about this.
No, it's part of the thought process. It gives us an insight.
Oh Jesus, this is really relaxed, confident, and approachable.
Next question. It's maybe a slightly controversial one, but we'll keep it like with Christmas round the corner. If you could pick one player from another team in the Isthmian League to add to your squad, who would you like? I asked Evan, the ladies' manager, the same question because he's desperate for a goalkeeper, so he used it for that. But maybe just a player who's caught your eye that you think, oh, he would fit in really well with my team.
Oh Jesus! There was a couple for Worthing. I like the midfield. I can't think of his name, so I got it wrote down. I always, after every game when we play teams, I like players. I always write them down. I've got a little black book.
Worthing were a class act all over, weren't they, as well, though?
They were a very good side, yeah. Let's be honest, they wouldn't have been in the league this year if I don't think. But yeah, they're a side that've been together and they're good. It's tough. I'll go for, because we've been lacking in forward areas, I'll probably go Joe Taylor. But Cray, obviously, someone that played for Margate, and he always done. To be honest, when I used to come and watch Margate, he was someone that always used to do well when I watched him. But yeah, he's someone that he's the top goal scorer in the league last year, and I think he'll probably be top goal scorer this year. So if you're saying that, and it's an area where we have struggled, then yeah, someone like Joe Taylor would obviously be a bonus.
I feel like this one might be easier for you to answer. Say you had to isolate with one of the boys in the squad, who would you isolate with? And if you couldn't isolate with anyone, like absolutely no way, which player would it be? I think I know the latter answer.
Who would I isolate with?
Yeah, you have to.
Oh, jeez. I definitely wouldn't. I'll do that one first.
Yeah.
I'll definitely Noel Leighton. It's blatantly obvious. He would absolutely drive me mad. He's a great lad, but he's completely on a different planet. So yeah, not for me, Noel. Isolate with. I'll go. Oh, blimey. Reece Prestige. I need some plumbing work done at my house so he can help with that. But yeah, I'll go with Reece. Brilliant
answer. Really constructive answer there. And if you could change one rule in football, what would it be?
I think there's a couple of things. I think coming back now, I'd like to see 5 subs. I think coming back after another layoff, and especially with, and I see why Premier League clubs want to do it. I know a lot of people are against it, but I just think with injury-wise, coming back again after another break, and if we do only have a week's training, I think 5 subs is something we need to look at. Only for this period. Then once all this hopefully is over in a year or so's time, then it gets taken back to 3. And I think on that as well, probably having 7 subs for the FA Cup. We're allowed 7 subs. You especially at the moment, you need to carry a bigger squad with all the games that are going to be coming up. And I just think that if you can have a bigger squad and then have people sitting out not in the squad on a match day is silly. And then on FA Cup, you're allowed 7. So for me, yeah, I would look at them rules. That would be the 2 things: 7 subs and being able to pick 5 from them.
Yeah, because sometimes, like even before this lockdown, the Saturday, Tuesday, and even when we played on Sunday and then having East Thurrock on Tuesday, it's a hell of a lot to ask. And I know at the Premier League it's such a hot topic at the moment, but sometimes I want to say, well, hang on a minute, try being a non-league manager and putting players there first when they have jobs and travel and stuff like that. It's a little bit crazy. Right, final quick fire question. Of the 4 new kits that we've got ready and waiting to wear when we play again, which one of the 4 is your favourite?
I've got 2. Pink would be my favourite, and then I've got to order it actually from a little boy, the grey and yellow goalkeeping.
Yeah, I really like the grey and yellow one as well, actually. Yeah.
So they would be my 2. I think the pink. I'm looking forward to seeing it. To be honest, they're the best kits I've probably seen about for a long time, and I was just saying that obviously because I'm at the club. But I was really impressed with them when Denny sort of said to me, we got the new kits, and he kind of said they're a bit out there. I thought, oh, God, what's going to be here? And but no, really impressed with them. So I'm looking forward to seeing the supporters with them on, and hopefully all the kids running about in them, and I'm sure they're getting sent everywhere around the world with obviously the Libertines on them.
Yeah, no, it's great. And like I said, I think all of us as a Christmas present would just love maybe a little bit of festive football and hopefully have fans in, and we're all missing it so much. But Jay, thank you so much for generously giving up your time to be involved with this. And I think we're going to speak to Jamie and Craig as well, maybe get some of the players involved as well. It'd be really great to obviously just keep in touch with people. So thank you so much.
No problem, my pleasure, thank you.
And thank you for tuning into Unlocking the Gate. If you want to be the first to know when our next in the series are coming up, make sure you do subscribe. You can leave comments below as well. We would love to hear from you. But until that next episode, do take care and keep safe.